Like the video title says, I platinumed Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl. I don't know why. I cannot explain to you why I did this. I don't know what compelled me to play this game that feels like an early access demo that bills itself almost as a proof of concept for what will be a great finished product by the time it's finished, but instead we just have this.
Sushi that delivers itself.
Now, I want to be perfectly clear that Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl is not a bad game by any stretch, more so that it feels like it's not really a full game. It feels more like it's a fan-made mod for Smash Brothers. I can probably describe this game in 3 more creative ways, but in the spirit of moving on with this video, we'll do just that. My experience grinding for this platinum trophy, a platinum trophy that did nothing more for me than provide a quick rush of dopamine to my feeble brain, only to be followed by absolute nothingness, or what I like to call post-nut platinum clarity. Okay, wait a minute. What even is Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl? It's an arcade-style fighting game in the same vein as Smash Brothers, only very clearly didn't have as much of a budget or even as much time as Smash Brothers has had increasingly over the years. But you'd be interested to find this isn't even the first one in the series of these games, starting with Super Brawl, a game originally on just Nick.com with seasonal updates. It was then followed by Super Brawl 2, which looks like a slight upgrade that came out a year later, and you're going to start to notice a pattern here with these games, that they all just look a little bit better each time, and with some distance to this type of game now and what we have, they kind of look a little awesome in a retro kind of way. I mean honestly, I kind of want to go back and play some of these and maybe we'll talk about them here. I don't know, but we'll see. But they kind of look cool, right? Super Brawl 2 was then followed by Super Brawl 3, Good vs. Evil. Apparently it was super popular back in 2013, and honestly, all of these look kind of like an old school arcade brawler you'd find on an arcade machine, and I kind of like that aesthetic. I never played any of these, but it looks like a lot of fun. Then there's Super Brawl 4 in 2015, and let me just say, the more I looked at these older games, the more I kind of became perplexed as to why I've never heard of them, and further, if they have just maybe should have stuck with the 2D animated art style for All-Star Brawl, even if it was just with some of the characters. Super Brawl World in 2017 continued the series of brawlers where Nickelodeon seemed to be continuously building upon each game. Of course, I will have to rely on you if you have any experience with any of these and what the differences are between them, as I have no experience beyond this latest entry, which is All Stars Brawl. And finally, before All Stars Brawl, there was a mobile app game, Super Brawl Universe in 2019. And upon looking at some of the gameplay here, it definitely has the trappings of a free-to-play or mobile game. The UI alone is what is driving me to have the intense flashbacks of all those like money tycoon games you can download for free, but they kind of entice you to try to spend money on them. You know the ones, I don't need to tell you about that. And this is what started the 3D animation, it seems, that led into All Stars Brawl. And today we have our current boy, Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl, the first console game in this series of brawler type games from Nickelodeon, and I would also guess their largest release, at least in terms of the platforms that it launched on. Now you might think, taking an online/mobile series to console and PC natively may be worth putting in a pretty sizable budget into to ensure it's not the first and the last game in the series on the console, or even more simply, creating a true Smash competitor if that was the intention, in the absence of new Smash content, given that Smash Ultimate has released its final DLC pack and that of Sora as a character. You might think that, but you'd be wrong. Nickelodeon seems content with putting out super low budget and low quality games that just vary in reception from "this is okay" to "why? Just why?"
Leonardo versus Garfield.
That's not even to say that All Stars Brawl doesn't have its bright spots, or even that it's not fun to play, because it totally is, especially if you have a buddy, or even the past brawlers were not any good per se, but more so these games they put out at times are head scratchers. Like, Nickelodeon is not putting in the time and money into these games to make some truly special gems. However, I will be honest, I do think Battle for Bikini Bottom was kind of awesome, but that's just me. The problem here, of course, is not the conceit of a Smash-like game with Nickelodeon characters, it's the execution. I played the game for roughly 20 to 30 hours, and with a buddy, it's actually pretty fun. You have basic movesets you'd expect with some slight differences: down special, grab, jump, recovery, it's all there. But some of the characters feel just absurdly imbalanced. Patrick, for example, is so tanky where at 200 damage, he's still able to recover, and even Reptar's fire breath is insanely overpowered. Oh, you know, local representative Tar. What a great man. The launch potential of these abilities make them inconsistent in terms of power. Aang, for example, at least at the time that I wrote the script for this video and I was thinking about conceiving of this video and I was like playing the game for it, has this rolling airball move that is broken since the last update. Using it results in an instant KO no matter what the damage percentage you have or where you are is. It makes competitive play super easy and also very fucking obnoxious when you get messages from people saying, "What in the fuck was that?" And your only response is, "Sorry, dude, trying to get the platinum trophy." I don't know what else to say. You also may be wondering, where's all of the content? I don't know. I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. Well, I'll tell you what the content is actually. What you have is a single player arcade mode with several difficulties, over a dozen stages, some secondary local and online multiplayer game modes, and otherwise that's pretty much the bulk of the experience here. The lack of content, less on the game's roster, though that's lacking as well, and more that there's not much of these modes beyond what you see here or even have seen in trailers. Arcade mode is just that, arcade. You jump through about 6 stages, fight a random selection of characters, occasionally choose between 2 characters you may want to fight, and then you continue. It doesn't really feel like there's any real reason to play arcade mode unless you're going for the platinum like myself, and you just want to drive yourself crazy playing arcade mode like 20 times. One of the most recent updates added in a voice acting to the game, which was suspiciously absent at launch, but you can tell, especially in arcade mode, the inclusion was just more in response to the criticism than actual intent to do so from the beginning. And if it wasn't, this is just not a great implementation. Sure, the characters talk now, and if it was like Smash where they had their current voice actors and they just provided the moans and the groans and the grunts and the lines here or there, but when you go the extra step of having the 2 characters that are fighting briefly taunt each other before each match, only to just have them say incredibly generic lines that don't even reference the other, it has me asking if there is even a point to having that if they're just aren't going to talk to each other. I'm not saying that they have to interact, but if you're going to have them interact, it should make sense at least, right?
Now, watch a real sensei at work.
Danger!
This is just like Romeo and Juliet, except I'm the one on the balcony and I can understand everything we're saying.
Well, the truth is, I'm arriving. There, I said it.
I mean, someone else said it, but it bears repeating. Just imagine these characters just ruthlessly beating the shit out of each other in awkward and abject silence. It sounds like you're describing the beginning of a fever dream. And I know this again because I played the arcade mode like over 20 times in way more local and online matches than I would have cared to have admitted. I honestly had to like do it in chunks because grinding it all out in one night was just not something I was content with doing, and it wasn't gonna happen that way. I wasn't gonna be able to do it. I couldn't reasonably sit there and talk about this game and told you that I played over 100 matches between local and online in one sitting, mainly because that would have been impossible considering the online servers for the game seemed to be completely dead. Hours of me just sitting there in lobbies hoping and praying someone would come and relieve me from this torment of waiting. Reasonable people like yourself watching may exclaim that I could have walked away and given up at any point. No one's making me get the platinum. But what I have to say to that is nay. Like a horse? Nay? No. Like a nay, as in nay. I must finish this, and I did. I'm just saying I couldn't have done it in one sitting, because I would have been clinically insane by the end of it. Even so, it still just felt like a chore. The game doesn't have that it factor, nor does it really warrant much extended play for me beyond a few matches here and there. There's not a lot to discover here that doesn't present itself within the first few minutes or hours of play. If your friend comes over, you may have some fun playing a few rounds, and your friend may then offer you $5 to buy Hugh Neutron, and you'll say, I guess, then all of a sudden you have Hugh Neutron and you're riding a banana, and it will of course change your life. The only other mode are versus modes, and then you have sports modes, which involve you just using different balls to get them in different goals, and they all have their different properties. Like the football has a different like texture and property to it than say the soccer ball does, or even the Tommy ball or whatever the hell the game mode was called. I don't even remember, and I'm not going to look it up, I promise you. But they're not that rewarding or fun, especially when, you know, you can just kind of give yourself a handicap just to get trophies right out of the way, or, you know, if you don't have someone else to play with, it kind of just doesn't make it fun to play, considering. To speak further on this lack of content, a lot of fighting games, at least in my mind, part of the fun always used to be unlocking new characters. The more you played the game, or new modes and stages, a lot of these games can hang their hat on the fact that they have a big roster of characters they can use as their own metric for the amount of content they have. I mean, at least to me, that's a good metric. More characters means more ways to play, more combinations, so it begs all these questions of where are all of the other characters in this game? Where are they? Especially when they've been in other versions of this game. Timmy Turner, the other Ninja Turtle characters, Chalk Zone characters, Hey Arnold, rocket power. Hell, let's go deep back into it and get the angry beavers out of retirement there. Come on. Unfortunately, given the amount of money, time, and effort Nintendo has put into Smash, it makes us all spoiled when a similar mascot fighter comes out and doesn't go back deep into the well for the ultimate roster of characters and stages, but I digress. Further, the characters you do get don't even get the full treatment. One costume for each fighter with not even palette swaps. It just doesn't make playing this game as enjoyable as it could have been. It made my solitary experience of playing Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl tedious. I would have been okay with it if they just had a list of fighters they planned on bringing on, or at least a roadmap of who they planned on adding to the game. I don't want to pay for all of them, but at least that would have been giving me more confidence that Nickelodeon wants to grow this game beyond what it is now. Speaking of the lack of content here too, there's also a seeming lack of interesting levels. It made grinding for the trophies even more taxing on my soul. I often lost touch with reality. Went on a bender for a bit drinking Coke just trying to make it through. And in the end, I lived to tell you this tale. Though, it wasn't an easy road. In all seriousness, there's a crazy lack of any creativity with these levels. They're all aesthetically pleasing and have cool little Easter eggs throughout you can explore and kind of see in the background, but aside from that, the actual functionality of the levels leaves a lot to be desired. A lot of them have that same kind of Smash Bros. Battlefield type of stage kind of vibe, if you know what I'm talking about there. It's only a few platforms to jump on, otherwise no real dimension to it or complexity, and it repeats between this kind of stage and then the crazy type of stages that just kind of lack a lot of consistent ground. That being said, I do find those levels to be more engaging and interesting to maneuver on because it adds a different level of strategy to the game. But for every one of those, you end up with a few aesthetically pleasing but boring, albeit functional stages. For example, I love this Wild Thornberries level because it kind of showcases that creativity and the kind of wild nature you can kind of get creative with these type of games. At least I think it's a Wild Thornberries level, but either way, I'm not going to look it up or double check the name, so it's fine. You get what I'm saying. I dig this one. I can't speak to the other DLC characters like Jenny and even the recently added Rocco, but Hugh Neutron's stage that comes with his character pack, for example, is basically just one flat plane, and it makes grinding through all of these battles, including with this stage, kind of a drag. Your best bet will be to turn on a video or podcast in the background while you kind of grind away, because it's essential for your sake that you have some kind of level of stimulation while mindlessly smacking Nickelodeon characters across the screen, lest your mind wander to feelings of inadequacy and wondering if you turned off the gas on the stove before you lit that candle inside. I got the Platinum Trophy in the end, though. It took way longer than it should have been since the servers are pretty dead. Even then I had to cheat using Aang's broken mood to take advantage of the people I did face. And I just want to say I apologize to you all personally. This is not reflective of the man that I am or the man I hope to become. A good trophy list for me, I should say, should be a mix of story progression related trophies, if applicable, collectible items, combat/gameplay related trophies, whether they be counting the number of times you do something or a cool feat of brilliance, and some small ones based on metrics like kills or other stats. And even then, all of the above could be applied, but it would be null and void if the trophies are annoying. Ergo, the list we are treated to with Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl. Nobody cares that much about trophies, and I understand that, but playing 50 matches of local modes, 50 of online, and then beating 5 players online to have a higher rating, or beating 3 level 9 CPUs, is an insanely taxing trophy list, and the people that care about that are probably like me and like 3 other people. But if you decide to watch this, I definitely appreciate you listening to me ramble, whine, and moan about a game I actually didn't hate playing despite my issues with it. Maybe you play with your buddy for a little bit, couple hours, I don't know, whatever you're gonna do, but at the end of the day, there's not enough content here to justify hours and hours of play, at least in my opinion. I mean, I justified it by getting a platinum trophy, but that's just because I'm an insane person and you should never follow my advice, at least in that regard. So lack of content, lack of technical polish, and a tedious trophy list makes All Stars Brawl kind of an underwhelming game no matter which way you slice it. I don't know if it was worth all the time I sunk into it, despite the fact I got it for free with PlayStation Plus. Next time I'll just have to bully a friend into joining me on this quest. Either way, I just want to say, I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video and my incoherent ranting and ravings about its shortcomings, including this trophy list, trivial as it may be. But that's what this whole thing is about, right? Or what do we call this whole YouTube channel thing I'm doing here? A personal vanity project to project my own thoughts onto you? Sure, that's exactly what it is. Either way, like, subscribe, whatever, I don't care. I'm gonna go take a nap or something. I need one after this.